Breaking news: Britain has reportedly lost nearly $100 billion in just 48 hours, and the Prime Minister is acting as if nothing happened. Political analysts are calling this the most severe diplomatic breakdown since Brexit. And what makes it even more shocking is this: no one in Westminster saw it coming. India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, didn't quietly step away from Britain. He didn't send a private memo or issue a vague statement. Instead, he walked onto the global stage, looked directly into the cameras, and delivered a sentence no Indian leader had ever spoken so openly before. India will not be instructed or pressured by a country that fails to honor its commitments. Just 15 words, and Britain's post-Brexit trade ambitions collapsed instantly. But here's what changes everything. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't bad timing. According to multiple leaks now circulating, this was carefully engineered. If you want to understand how real power operates behind closed doors, make sure you're subscribed, because what follows exposes how global politics truly works. Let's go back 3 months. The UK and India were on the verge of finalizing what would have been Britain's most significant trade agreement since leaving the EU. The deal promised massive gains across manufacturing, technology, and pharmaceuticals, a clear signal that Brexit could still succeed. Drafts were complete. Media briefings were prepared. Celebrations were already planned inside Downing Street. Then, at the 11th hour, everything changed. According to documents allegedly leaked from Indian trade officials, key sections of the agreement were quietly altered. New tariffs and restrictions appeared in the fine print, terms that heavily favored Britain while sharply limiting India's benefits. When Indian negotiators uncovered these changes, they were stunned. This didn't look like negotiation anymore. It looked like deception. India demanded clarification. What they received instead was far worse. A private message from a senior British official, intercepted by Indian intelligence, reportedly read: "Modi won't walk away. They need us more than we need them." That single line shattered decades of trust. To Indian leadership, it echoed something deeply familiar: the belief that India could still be pressured, underestimated, and controlled. They were wrong. Within 24 hours, Modi responded, publicly and decisively. No back-channel talks. No diplomatic cushioning. Standing before the press in New Delhi, he delivered a calm but final message. India will not accept disrespect disguised as partnership. Then he walked off the stage. The room erupted in applause. Within minutes, the footage spread across dozens of countries. Within hours, global headlines exploded. And within 3 hours, Starmer betrays India was trending worldwide. That's when the situation turned catastrophic. Instead of de-escalating, Britain's leadership dismissed the reaction as political drama, calling it exaggerated and theatrical. Diplomats described the response as reckless. Former ambassadors called it a disaster. Even insiders within the ruling party admitted privately they were watching a slow-motion collapse. India's response was swift and unprecedented. All trade negotiations with the UK were suspended entirely. Not postponed. Not paused. Frozen. The economic shock was immediate. Indian ports delayed British shipments. Investors began withdrawing capital from London. Manufacturing contracts in major UK cities were reportedly cancelled overnight. Thousands of jobs were suddenly at risk. And that was only the beginning. Investigative journalists soon uncovered a deeper trail: financial links between major political donors and multinational interests determined to limit Britain's engagement with Asia and keep it tied to Europe. Leaked meeting notes, banking records, and private strategy documents allegedly outlined plans to stall the India deal quietly, without triggering public backlash. If true, this wasn't incompetence. It was influence. International reactions followed quickly. Australia voiced concern. Canada echoed it. Even Washington issued a carefully worded statement urging restraint, diplomatic language widely interpreted as frustration with London. Then came reports from inside Buckingham Palace. Sources claim King Charles was deeply angered. For years, the monarchy had worked to strengthen Commonwealth ties, and this crisis reportedly felt like a personal humiliation. Inside Downing Street, panic set in. Officials described scenes worse than Brexit night. Encrypted files disappeared. Emails were wiped. Emergency calls flew between capitals. But India wasn't finished. New Delhi announced sweeping economic measures, higher tariffs, export bans, and the suspension of key visa programs for Britain. Analysts described it as the toughest response India has ever taken against a Western partner. Markets reacted instantly. The pound dropped. British luxury brands lost access to one of their fastest-growing markets overnight. Within the Labour Party, chaos erupted. Cabinet disputes leaked. Resignations were threatened. Polls showed a sharp collapse in public support. Allies went silent. Meanwhile, Modi's approval ratings surged. Across India, the moment was framed as a turning point, a nation finally standing its ground and winning. Because this was never just about trade. It was about trust. Promises were made. Expectations were set. And at the final moment, the terms were quietly changed, not by accident, but under pressure from powerful interests. That isn't diplomacy. That's betrayal. Now the damage may be permanent. Foreign partners are reassessing Britain's credibility. Future deals will demand stricter guarantees, harsher penalties, and deeper safeguards. Diplomats admit negotiations have grown colder. And the most dangerous part? If the donor-linked interference is proven, this crisis may not end politically, it could turn criminal. Whistleblowers are emerging. Investigations are being discussed. Legal teams are preparing. This is no longer just a scandal. It's a potential collapse. So the question remains. Did Britain's leadership knowingly allow outside pressure to sabotage this deal, or was this a staggering failure of competence? Leave your answer in the comments. Because while headlines move on, the truth keeps leaking. And when everything finally surfaces, it may force Britain to confront something far more uncomfortable than lost money or broken deals. It may have to face the reality that global power has shifted, and arrogance now comes at a price.